everybody, and welcome to another edition of Doc Talk with Monument Health. My name is Mark Houston, and joining me today are two people in a profession that I had never heard of until about 2 weeks ago, which is going to make this a lot of fun, I think, because I have so many questions for you guys. You guys are nuclear pharmacists, Patrick Novak, Bryan Brittain. Welcome to Doc Talk, you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us.
First off, well, Patrick, I'm going to start with you because you're local.
Yep.
Right? You're born and raised here?
Yep. I was born here, grew up here until I went off to college.
Okay. Where did you go to school then for this?
Well, I went to South Dakota State for pharmacy school, but this is you usually get trained on the job. So,
really?
Yeah, it was kind of a roundabout journey, but I ended up going to North Carolina for retail pharmacy after school, but then I ended up taking a job in Detroit to get into nuclear. So,
is this something you knew you wanted to do?
Yeah.
Like kind of early? No kidding.
Well, not early, but
right.
So in pharmacy school, you do rotations your last year. And I did a rotation in nuclear. I was like, I got to fill a spot. So let's do a nuclear one and see what it's like. And I kind of fell in love with it. So after that, I knew after graduation, that's what I wanted to get into. So
okay. So then, Bryan, what's your story? You're up here because of Patrick.
Yeah. So I'm from South Carolina.
Okay.
And then I went to MUSC over in South Carolina as well. And then a funny story was I was actually getting my tires rotating balance in my car. And some random guy popped up next to me. He's like, "Hey, you got like a pharmacy jacket on." So he's like, "Are you a pharmacist?" I was like, "I'm still in school." He's like, "Oh, have you heard of nuclear pharmacy? I work for one." And I was like, "Sure." And he gave me a contact to go job shadow somebody. So then I job shadowed them, got along, liked the job, and then I ended up doing a rotation with them. And then they helped me get a job actually with the same company that Patrick worked for. That's how we met.
So had you not been getting tires, you might just be a normal pharmacist right now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know, we grow up, all of us here, that you should never put anything nuclear in your body, right?
Yeah.
We've learned this from a very early age that that's not a thing to do. So let's just start with a basic explanation kind of what you guys do. What does a nuclear pharmacist do on the job?
Yeah, I think the main thing we do is compounding. So it doesn't look too much different than other pharmacy in that you're compounding different drugs out of vials and stuff.
Now, what does that mean, compounding?
So we're in a complete clean room suite. So the room we're in, like our day starts, we garb up. We have to wash our hands, wash our arms. You make sure you have like no particles on you, anything, and you go into a clean room, which is actually cleaner than the surgical room, and that's where we make the medicine. So when we go in there, inside of there, we also have hoods that have HEPA filters with like the cleanest air you can get possible, and that's where we do all of our compounding. And so compounding means we're basically taking different ingredients and producing the nuclear medicine for people. And
is this something that has to be done every day?
Yes.
Yep.
Because usually the radioactive component would decay every day, so it doesn't last more than 12 hours usually. And so usually we got to go in really early, make it before all the patients come in. So we usually get there around like 4 a.m. every morning.
Oh,
and
good
our
Lord.
Previous job, we would get there at midnight just because they had the volume was much larger. We got to get there even earlier.
Well, how does this nuclear pharmacy, do you guys know how it became this specialized field of practice?
Not all the history, but I know it's been around since like the 50s or 60s. People were doing stuff with it back then. So it's been, I've heard stories about when they first started doing it, they just do it on the counter and guys would be smoking cigars while they're doing it and stuff. So it's come a long ways.
Yeah, there were probably some medical issues with those fellas after a little while as well.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's got to be. Is it nerve-wracking to work with this, or are you guys so comfortable with it now that it's you don't really think too much about it because you're still working with a relatively dangerous compound, aren't you?
Relatively, yeah. I would say when we first started working with it, I was a little nervous.
Yeah.
But once you kind of get to learn like how to like handle everything, it becomes kind of second nature. And also, I guess there are like spills and stuff. And you kind of are prepared to handle things when things go wrong.
Well, you two guys are the only ones in the room. So if something like that happens, you're responsible for it.
Yes.
You're for cleaning it up and making sure it's safe. Mm-hmm. And so how often do you spill stuff? Never. Is it? Absolutely not. We are.
Well, we've both been doing it for a while. So far here, knock on wood,
Yeah.
we haven't had anything bad or anything. And we both kind of have pretty good habits. But
Yeah.
I know where we came from. I was only 3 weeks into the job, and I saw like a major spill that like shut down the whole place.
Oh my
And even
gosh.
the guys working were like, "This is the worst I've seen in my career." And I'm like, "I hope it's the worst in my career
exactly.
too." Yeah, but and there's different kinds of radioactivity. So the stuff we're using here is it's like low energy, so it's not really going to cause much damage or anything. It's all diagnostic stuff. So usually we're probably not too nervous around this stuff, but now there's different levels of radioactivity. There's kinds that they actually use for therapy. Everything we're doing is just for diagnostic stuff, so it's a lot lower.
And this is a relatively new part of Monument Health as well, isn't it, for you guys? I mean, is the nuclear the radiation that's been used has been used for a while,
Yeah.
But to have your own area at Monument is relatively new, right?
Correct.
Correct. I think
Yep.
it used to be based out of nuclear medicine that are lab. The other techs will compound make the stuff, but new regulations have come. It's been a lot stricter guidelines. So now like a pharmacist has to come do it inside of a clean room. And then, so they had to build their own pharmacy out here. To support that.
Is this do most hospitals, will they have to be doing this then? Is this something they'll have to do like everywhere? Or
They'll either have to have their own pharmacy like this, or they'll have to get their supplies from a supplier that is within the regulations and stuff. So,
and so, well, you were saying that at some point it had to be flown in from Sioux Falls like daily.
yeah, the closest nuclear pharmacy besides here is in Sioux Falls, and then the next one's probably Denver.
Yep. Oh,
So,
wow.
and yeah, the stuff in 6 hours, half the stuff is gone. It's constantly decaying. So logistically, it would have been a nightmare for them to deal with. So,
Well, let's talk a little bit about what the actual raw material is. First off, where does it come from?
yeah, I'll let Brian explain that.
Gotcha. It actually comes from like nuclear power plants from all over the world. They have a byproduct waste that they don't use, and I'm not sure which company grabs it, but there's a company out there that will get the byproduct and they'll sort out I can't say the word, molybdenum core. We call it moly.
Oh,
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
use
yeah.
that. Yeah.
So we get the moly core, and then they'll give it to Curium, who is the producer of the generators. They'll make a generator out of it, and then the generators can then be sent to us. And then those generators, as the moly decays, produces technetium.
I was going to ask you what the nuclear substance is. Is that
Yeah.
is that specifically what you use, or is there more?
That's one of the things that we
Okay.
use. Yeah, so
Yep.
technetium-99. And so that's what we use for most of our diagnostic stuff.
Okay.
Just because it's really a low radiation, decays really quickly, and so there's not really much worry with contamination or harming somebody with that.
Yeah.
Now, when you guys mention the diagnostics, this is I think most people would probably be familiar with a PET scan, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that specifically uses the nuclear material that you guys work with, right?
That one uses it's fluorine 18, F18, which is a different isotope, and it's a little bit more high energy. So that scan, they still get that from somewhere else, and that comes from a cyclotron. So that's like a giant facility designed just to produce that.
Just for that specific thing.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, what we do is called SPECT, and then that's called PET. So SPECT is more of just your basic heart scans, rest and stress study. And then there's some bone scans they do a gastric emptying studying, and then there's a few other ones, but so that's what we mainly do is the spec stuff. And then
Okay.
the PET is flown in still from.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, what are the most common uses of radiopharmaceuticals then in medicine?
I think probably cardiac stuff and cancer scans right now are the PET. I think PET is like really mainly looking at at cancer stuff.
Okay.
And then what we do is probably 70 to 80% of what we do is cardiac stuff, just seeing if the heart tissue, how healthy it is. And then they'll use that to determine the course of treatment.
So how does, I'm try to phrase this so it makes sense to me. How does it work once it gets in your body? Why does it have to be nuclear material?
Yeah, so the nuclear part, the stuff we use gives off a gamma radiation. So what that is it can go right through your body basically and not really cause too much damage. So what that allows the hospital then to do is to hook up a camera that can detect that radiation. So for the heart scans, for example, what we take is a radioactive element, and then we take a different, like a ligand that attaches to it, and that's designed to go to a specific part of the body.
Wait, say that word again.
Ligand.
What is that?
So that's like what attaches to the radioactivity.
Okay.
So that's what, when we compound, we're taking the raw radioactivity, combining it with a certain drug, if you will, and then and the different drugs are for different types of scans. And so for the heart one, for example, how that one works is they've designed a chemical that will go to healthy parts of heart tissue, and so then when you attach that radioactivity to it, you inject it to somebody, it goes to the healthy tissue, they put a camera over it, and they can then get a picture, because all that radiation is being detected by a fancy detector, picks it up, and then they get a picture, and using software and just the expertise of the doctors and the nuke med techs, they can determine how healthy the heart tissue is and go from there. So it's unique because it lets you look inside the body and look at function and stuff from outside without being invasive or having to cut into anyone or anything like that.
What did they? That was my next question. What did they used to do before that? They had to cut into you, I suppose, didn't they? In order to check and see if something was wrong. I mean, what a huge advancement. To be able to see inside the body.
Yeah, and then the cancer stuff, I feel like that's even crazier. They've designed stuff where it goes to certain types of cancer cells and stuff, so they can use this to see where if the cancer's spread, they can see where it's at. And PET produces like a 4K image, so it lets them see every little tiny spot, and then they can track how they're treating people, and determine what the right treatment is and stuff. So it's amazing what they can do with that. Can
they use this type of radiation to cure as well? Or is this purely to see?
Right now they've actually just recently started to come out with treatment agents for it.
Really?
So it's newer, but and that's something we're kind of currently working with right now, and that eventually hopefully will be brought to Monument and be an option for people. But that's kind of, and a lot of drug companies are right now pouring billions of dollars into it. So I think one of the thoughts is that will be one of the futures of cancer treatment down the road. We'll be using this to treat it.
Well, chemotherapy is a type of radiation too, isn't it?
It's a little bit. I'm not an expert on chemo.
Right. No.
Yeah, but it's.
Don't want to put you on the spot.
I don't think chemo is using. I think they can do radiation, and then they can do chemo, which is more of like a chemical agent to attack the cancer. But this is basically taking. So in the treatment, they'll take a radioisotope that instead of producing like a gamma, which just goes through you, they'll add like an alpha or a beta emitting radioactive particle, and that actually will cause tissue damage. But then by getting it to go just to the cancer cell, they can make it so it's just attacking that cancer.
Oh, it's
crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
That is amazing. So you guys being in the field and working with this every day, and you guys have to constantly stay up to date with whatever's changing, correct? Are there kind of exciting things on the horizon that you guys are like, hey, if we get this, or if this is going to happen, this is going to be really cool? Is there stuff like that?
Yeah, like I said, there's right now there's 2 treatments out, but there's like hundreds of studies on different things for all kinds of different cancers, different things that they're coming out with using radioactive medicine as the treatment. So I think it's going to grow like crazy over the next 5-10 years.
And you guys, that will be part of your job though, still, correct?
Yeah, yep. It'll usually probably come to us, and we'll dispense it like a normal drug to the radiologist or to the nuke med department.
Are all the drugs, are they liquid based or pill based, or can they be anything when it comes to nuclear therapies?
Most of them are like kind of powders, but when we elute the generators, it usually comes in like a saline that we'll kind of mix it in, and it will be kind of a liquid form after that.
Okay.
And then it'll be injected.
So it's all like intravenous.
Yep.
Is how you get most of these all the time. Okay. Yeah. So going back to your guys' education on this, what is required to do this? So you go to school for pharmacy, correct?
Yep, correct.
And then what's the next step that takes you to this next level of nuclear?
Then you have to get a authorized user status from the NRC, and so usually that takes about, I forgot how many days of training was it?
It's a couple months of training, like on-site training.
500 hours, I believe.
Yeah, and then it's like a class you take too, but it's not as intense as continuing to go through school or do a residency.
Right.
It's about 3 months of training or so, and most of it's on-job training. But yeah, and then that's basically telling the NRC that you're competent to handle the spills, anything like that. So yep.
So you guys you're suited up all day. you don't come out of those suits. I mean, if you're in that room, you're in the suits.
Yes.
Yeah, when you're in the room.
And that's purely, I mean, for your protection, obviously.
Yeah.
What do you, if somebody listens to this and thinks, you know what, that's a cool damn job. What kind of advice would you give to people that you've learned, that you guys have experienced in this, if they want to pick it up and run with it?
I think for me, the biggest thing is just don't be afraid to come shadow. And, now that there's a nuclear pharmacy here too, it creates a great opportunity for people to get exposed to it too and just see what it's about. Especially if you're thinking about going into pharmacy.
Yeah.
It's a type of field you never hear about.
Right, exactly.
Ryan, you would have never heard about it.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Tires change. So, yeah, but if you hear about this and you're interested, don't, even if you're, back for summer vacation or something like that, you can get a hold of us or the hospital and you could come check it out and see if you want to do a rotation. And hopefully eventually we will have a rotation for pharmacy students too here, which will be good.
Would you, would it be helpful if there were more of you doing this, or is the job in a city like Rapid and a hospital like Monument, are 2 people enough to handle this here?
I'll say, yeah, so as of right now, 2 people are enough, but if we expand as more on, we probably will need another pharmacist on hand.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, God, it has to be. Do you tell people that you're nuclear pharmacists, or do you just get so tired of the jokes that you just be like, we're just pharmacists. Don't ask me any more questions.
Maybe the second. Maybe the latter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, even I did this stupid joke when you guys walked in, and I felt so bad for it. So I'm like, come on, you guys have heard this a million times. But do you guys ever worry about? I mean, do you ever worry about the danger from it? Because the level that you guys work with, is it enough to be harmful, like over like extended periods of time, or?
It can be, but we do wear these rings and these body badges that will track how much radiation we're getting.
Oh, no kidding. Mm-hmm. So like little Geiger counters on you the whole time that kind of track the whole thing.
And then the NRC only allows like a certain level of radiation. Otherwise, once you hit that level, you have to like completely stop working with radiation.
And just get out.
And just get out,
okay. Excellent.
And so there's usually, they have like a level 1 and level 2. You hit level 1, it's like a warning. Level 2 is like an immediate stop to whatever you're doing. And then I've never gotten close to any of those numbers.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Patrick Novak and Bryan Brittain, they're nuclear pharmacists here at Monument Health. Thanks for coming in and talking about this, guys. And if you guys ever want to drill down a little bit more and get more specific on stuff, I'd love to have you back to discuss some more of this. But I think this was just kind of a cool general overview of what you guys do and the importance of it, especially, like you said, for heart conditions and cancer. And, to me, it's the next big step in the evolution of curing people because of how specific you can get with the medicines that you produce. So I want to thank both of you guys for coming in and doing what you do. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us.
You bet.